As you recall, we learned how to filter out or in records in an earlier training video when we were working on our tables. You can also do the same steps in our queries, but the difference between the queries and the tables is that you can do so much more when it comes to filtering your records. In fact, let me go ahead and show you. Let me open up the inventory query here and quickly introduce you to what you're looking at. I've got my employees, the department that they're assigned to, the computers that have been assigned to them, the asset tag or barcode, the manufacturer of those computers, and I can click and drag and scroll over to the right. You can see all the other fields. Let me scroll back. How many records do I have here? Total of 24. So to go ahead and filter these records, I can come up here, and as you recall in the table training video, you can click on the filter button. You can do the simple filter options here, or the add criteria manually, which allows us more flexibility. We need to go to the design view here. And the two ways we can do that is by right-clicking on the tab, going to design view, or coming up here, of course, home tab to, there's the design button, click on it. And as you recall, in the design view, the query is split into two sections. We have the top one, all the tables that we added, and then down below, the fields from those tables that are viewable in the datasheet view when we go back to our datasheet view. I can't see my tables too well, they're cut off, so I'm going to go ahead and hover over that split bar that divides the top and bottom sections until my pointer turns into arrows pointing up and down. Click and drag that split bar down, opens up more of the top section. You can also hover over the bottom of any one of the tables and click and drag to stretch them open to see some of the fields, if not most of them or all of them. Now before we go ahead and we talk about the criteria field down below and start entering it in for, well, each one or two or more fields, well, first of all, you'll notice in this query that I have the relationship type. We didn't see that when we created our query by using the wizard. It only showed a link. It didn't show the one or the infinity symbol to show what type of relationship it was, in this case one-to-many. So in other words, if you want to see your relationship types in your queries, don't use the wizard because it'll never show it. Go ahead and create your query from scratch in the design view, okay? Okay, I've got 24 records. Of the 24 records, down below we've got our criteria row. And let's say that I only want to pull up those records or those employees who are in the human resource department. I can either come over here in the department name and type in human resource, or, well, I know the department code for the human resource department, it's 100. Go ahead and type it in and then hit the tab key. Anytime you type in criteria, don't click out of the cell, but always hit the tab key, because upon exit, when you hit the tab key, Access goes back in and looks in that field, that criteria cell, to make sure that what you entered in is acceptable, because if it isn't, it'll pull up a big window right here and say, I don't get what you're doing. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and take it for a test drive. Either click on the Fun Run button or click on the Datasheet View button. It brings up the datasheet here, and there we go. You can see we've got 3 records here, and 3 is up above. The criteria, it only pulls up those records that have the department code 100, which has the department name Human Resource. Okay, let's go back to our design view. Now, like I said, you can have 2 or more criteria at the same time. So we've got 100. Let me go ahead and scroll over to the right and see if I can find one that I want to add. My second criteria, let's do purchase price. So I'm lining up in my criteria row to that purchase price field, so I click in that cell. And let's say that I want to find those employees, again, with the department code 100, so in the human resource department, that we've assigned a computer that we purchased for, let's say, $1,500 or less. So I'm going to go ahead and add the less than symbol, which is the shift comma key on the keyboard, and then type in 1500, and then again hit the tab key after you type in your criteria. So upon exit, go back and Access can check and verify that what you entered is acceptable. Let's go ahead and take it for a test run. Click on the Run button. There we go. 2 criteria. It has to belong to the department code 100, human resource. Scroll over. It also has to have the purchase price of less than $1,500. Maybe because all the computers that we purchased that was less than $1,500 are breaking down right now. I mean, cheap computers, right? So we better go ahead and replace this computer here. Let's go back to the design view. I'm going to go ahead and delete that criteria. Leave the other one alone, the 100 for human resource. And let's add one over here, criteria for the manufacturer. So they have to belong to the human resource, department code 100, and they also have to have a computer that was manufactured by, let's type in global. Go ahead and hit the tab key. Now you'll notice 2 things. First of all, that my letter G there isn't capitalized. That's okay, because when it comes to criteria, it's not case sensitive. Also, it added quotes around it. Well, this is a text value field, so it'll always put quotes around text. Now, I forgot to add them, so metaphorically speaking, Access has a little butler. It'll go around and it'll add these things for you if you forget. Okay, let's go ahead and take this for a test run. Now again, it's got two criteria applied to it. The department code has to be 100 and the manufacturer has to be global. Great. Let's go back to the design view. Now that we know how to add our criteria, pretty simplistic, how about if I go ahead and go down into the OR row? Now I refer to this OR row as the override because this cell, anything that you add in here, is not bound by the criteria. So right now I only have one criteria. Remember, it's the 100 code. If I go ahead and type anything down in here, it's not going to be bound by the 100, so I could pull up anything additional that I pull down in here or that I enter down here in the OR row for manufacturer, like let's say, again, global. Hit the tab key, so I have the criteria 100. So I'll pull up all those records tied to the 100 code and pull up those records that were manufactured by global. Let's take it for a run, and there we go. So it pulled up the department code 100 because that's the criteria. Then in the override row, it ignored the criteria and said, look, I'm looking for those computers that were manufactured by global. There's two of them. Well, coincidentally, you've got one 100 that was manufactured by global, so it pulled up the 100 here. And it did override the 100, technically speaking, because it's looking at the OR, the override field first, before the criteria. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the design view. And we can go ahead and add on to this. In fact, if I click in here, hit the space bar, and type in OR, so now we've got an OR, so it overrides at global, but we can add another OR within that same cell. It can be global or SpyTech. Hit the tab key. Notice how it capitalizes the O and OR for me. Then because it's a text field, it also adds the quotes around SpyTech. So there's that little butler or access cleaning up for me if I forget to add it. So now it's going to pull up all those records that are tied to the code 100 that are in the Human Resource Department and also that have the computers that were manufactured by Global or SpyTech. Let me scroll back. Now we know that the department code is tied to the Human Resource Department. I can go ahead and uncheck to show that field. You can see the show row here. By default, all of the fields are showing. But if I uncheck that field, it doesn't prevent the criteria from working. It just says don't show it. And in this case, maybe I want to go ahead and have the criteria set up, but I don't want to see the code. I just want to see the department name. Then come up here, click on the Run button. So even though we don't have the department code field showing, it's still working. It's just hidden. So again, it pulled up all the computers that were manufactured by SpyTech and Global and that weren't in the Human Resource Department. They were in the IT cells, whatever. It ignores the criteria. So back to our design view. Let me go ahead and check that box. Let me go ahead and scroll down and let me delete that and scroll back. And then one final thing about the OR here is you can also do it in the criteria field. In that, instead of using the OR down below, you can go ahead and hit the spacebar, type in OR 200. So I want to be able to view the department codes 100 or 200, hit the tab key. There it went. It capitalized the O in OR. Take it for a test drive. There we go, 100 or 200. Go back to the design view here. Up until this point, we've only entered in criteria for either a number or a text data type field. What about a date data type field? First of all, let me go ahead and delete this. In fact, when it comes to deleting like a row here, and you've got a lot of criteria in there, instead of going into each cell, you can hover over, almost over the text, the criteria. Can you see my pointer turning into a black arrow pointing to the right? When you click on it, it selects the entire row. Then you can hit the delete key and it deletes all the contents within that row. Then I'm going to go ahead and scroll over to the right to find my date data type field, and there it is, date received. So let's say that I want to be able to find all those records that the computers we received came after January 1st of 2008. So anything after date, you want to use the greater than symbol. Type it in and then type in the date, 1/1/2008. Hit the tab key so it can check my work. You'll notice it added pound symbols, which whoops, I forgot to add those, but what's the point in remembering to add those if Access is going to add them for me? So anything that comes after January 1st of 08, let's see, either click on the datasheet view or the fun run button. I call it that because it's fun to run something. They both bring you up to the datasheet view. Click and drag and scroll over, and there it is. Do these two records come after January 1st of 08? They do. So the greater than symbol means anything after. Let's go back to our design view. And of course, if we flip that symbol to less than, shift, comma, those keys on the keyboard brings up the less than, and click on the run button, and then scroll over. There we go. All the records are before January 1st of 08. Let's go back to our design view. And how about if we want to find records in between two dates, like let's say June 1st of 2006, after that, but before January 1st of 2008. So to do that, let me go ahead and delete this. Now, if it's got to be after our first date, then we want to use the greater than symbol and then type in June 1st, 2006. And is an operator. In fact, let me get geeky with you. Access refers to the and even the or in the previous training video, and these symbols here, greater than, less than, and also equals, as operators. It's a way that we tell Access by using these operators what we want it to do. So we want to be able to find anything that comes after January 1st of 06, and it has to meet the second condition by using the operator and before January 1st, so we're going to use the less than symbol and type in 1/1/2008. Be sure to hit the tab key, adds the pound symbols around the dates there, and capitalize the A in and. It did it for me, so let's go ahead and click on the, we can click on the datasheet view button, that's fine. Scroll over to the right, and let's see. Looking at the records and the dates received, do you find any that are not in between those two dates? In other words, it has to come after June 1st, 2006, and there's one. Even though it's close, it's still after June 1st of 06. And then all the other dates go right up to and just before January 1st of 2008. Okay, let's go back to our design view. Now, there's another way that you can write this without using the greater than or less than operators or symbols. And to do that, I need to make some changes here, but you notice how it's cut off? I can't see everything within that cell. Well, you can zoom in on that cell, in other words, open it up so you can see everything by right-clicking on it and zooming. There we go. Or the shortcut keys, let me click cancel, is Shift F2, and it brings up the same window. So that way you get a little bit more space before you have to scroll, if you have to type in that much. So we've got our criteria that has to be between these two dates, or older than that one, or after this date but before that one. Well, you can retype this by using another operator. It's called between. But to use the between, you have to get rid of the less than and greater than, and then type in between. So it's between this date and that date. And again, and means that it has to meet both conditions here. So click OK, hit the tab key, hit the run button, and it brings up the exact same records. So you can write it that way, or use the greater than or less than symbols. In fact, let me go back to the design view. If you're going to write it this way, and let's say you don't want to find records in between those two dates, so it would be not between June 1st and January 1st of 08 there. So go ahead and type in not, space, hit the tab key. After it exit, it corrects it for me, capitalizes the N in not. So let's go ahead and take it for a run and scroll over. So now we're looking at records that aren't between those two dates. So it's either before June 1st of 06, which that one is, or after January 1st of 2008, which that one is. Okay, so it checks out. Let's go back to our design view, and let me go ahead and delete. In fact, let me go back and click on the Run button. If you ever find that you have fields that are empty, for example, let's say you're taking orders and you had such a big rush you forgot to enter in some key information. Maybe you wrote it down, but you just had enough time to type in some of the data. For example, let's say we forgot to enter in Bob's first name. Let me click off so it saves it. So we've got one record that has an empty field. Well, if you want to be able to pull up those records that contain empty fields, so later on you can go ahead and fill them back in. We don't want to scroll through everything. We don't need to see everything, just those that are empty. Go back to the design view. It's really simple. Let me scroll over to the first name field and type in null. That means empty. Hit the tab key, Access checks it, and then says you're supposed to write in is null or is empty. So let's click on the Run button. We only had one record that had one field that we entered the criteria in to check if it was empty. That was the first name, and it was, remember, Bob. Hold down the Shift key, hit Enter to save it. So when I go back to my design view and then I run it again, nothing should pull up because now everybody has a first name, and there's no records that have an empty value in this field here. Let's go back to the design view. You can also do the not on this one. In other words, how about is not, space, hit the tab key. So now it finds all those records that are not empty, and then hit the Run button. And all the records in the first name field have something in there, so they all pull 24. Back to the design view. So that way you can flip it if you're looking for those that aren't empty. Okay, let me go ahead and delete that. Let's advance further. I'm going to go to my department code. Remember, we have the codes 100, 200, and 300. So let's say we wanted to find all the department codes that were greater than 200. We know the greater than symbol. But what about if we want to find all the department codes that were greater than or equal to 200? In other words, we don't want anything just beyond 200, but we also want to include or equal to 200. So how you write it is that we know the greater than, it's got to be greater than, but also we type in equals and then 200. So greater than or equal to, hit the run button, there we go. It includes the 200 because it's equal to, and then anything greater than. Back to our design view, and then of course flip that to the less than, so anything less than or equal to 200. Now, you don't want to put the equal sign on the left side, it's always got to be on the right, because if you put it on the left side of the greater than or less than operator or symbol, and then you hit the tab key, it says, what are you doing? Click OK, and then be sure to change that around. So it's going to be greater than or equal to. Let me go ahead and delete that. You can also use the greater than or less than symbols for text data type fields, like how about last name? What would you say if I typed in greater than K and hit the tab key? What does that mean? Well, that last name that begins with the letter K comes after K. Because remember, greater than is after. So if you click on the Fun Run button, well, it includes the K's, but then anything after that. So it continues down the alphabet, O, R, S, down to W. Click the Design View button. Then, of course, you can flip that to anything before K, which is less than, and then hit the Run button. Doesn't include the K, just before that K. Go back to our design view. Let me go ahead and delete that. And then the last operator I want to show you is the not equal to. So for example, if I want to be able to pull up all the departments except the IT department, let me go back and click on the Run button. Okay, the IT department is 400. I can use the code or the name. Let's use the name. Go back to the design view. What you'd want to type in is the less than and greater than symbol back to back. That's the not equal to operator when you combine those together. Then hit the spacebar and type in IT, hit the tab key. It's not case sensitive. Go ahead and click on the Run button, and it pulls up no IT 400 department codes here. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.